He is a hollow vessel, something less than human. He may have taken so much from me, but he will never get to take my voice.
You may have received A's in high school and college, but you're gonna be getting big D's in prison.
If you hadn't attacked them in their sleep, in the middle of the night, like a pedophile, Kaylee would have kicked your ass.
All right, Mr. Kohberger, you have an opportunity to make a statement if you wish to. I take it you are declining.
I respectfully decline.
So, what is Killer Kohberger's life like now? We're taking a closer look at the hellhole prison where he'll be for the rest of his life. Plus, a disturbing story out of Alabama. Multiple children allegedly tortured and held captive in a storm bunker as part of a sex trafficking ring. This was also allegedly organized by some of the victims' own parents. And is this Amy Bradley? Could she still be alive today? We're spotlighting the photo that's popped up online years after her disappearance. And tortured and drowned. We've got a big case starting today. A defendant accused of torturing and killing her 6-year-old child. So what's her defense? It's all coming up next for you right here on Opening Statements. Good Monday morning to you and welcome to Opening Statements. I'm Julie Grant. I hope you had a great weekend. I missed you. Ready to get started with a wonderful show we have planned for you today. So let's do it like we always do. Grab that cup of coffee. It's time for my opening statement. Off the charts. The narcissism and the sociopathy is off the charts with Lori Vallow Daybell. This woman told the court at sentencing she wants to uplift those around her. Well, if by uplifting she means murdering, then perhaps that makes some sense. Because this woman hasn't shown an ounce, not an ounce of remorse for committing 4 homicides and trying to commit a 5th. 4 killings. And this isn't a gangster we're talking about. This is a mom. Perhaps the biggest fraud and failure of a mother we have ever seen. She had the nerve to call our justice system an unjustice system because of how unfairly she says she was treated. Really? Unjustice system, huh? How about the murders of all those people? J.J. Vallow, Tylee Ryan, Tammy Daybell, and Charles Vallow, and the attempted murder of Brandon Boudreaux. Those crimes are what's unjust. How about the heartache their surviving loved ones like Kay and Larry Woodcock and Colby Ryan have suffered with? That's what's unjust. And the fact that Cult Mom should have been sent to death row for her crimes, but got lucky when the prosecutor's office messed up, that is unjust. And finally, there was the wink. The wink when Tammy Daybell's aunt told her to go rot in prison. And she winked back at her. But the fact of the matter is, she will rot in prison. Prison is where she will die. And in the meantime, if she winks at somebody inside the prison, she best be ready for what comes her way. That's my opening statement. Let me know if you like it. Right now, it's time for your daily docket. In Washington, we've got closing arguments expected today in the attempted honor killing trial. Court starts up at noon Eastern. In Michigan, we've got a sentencing scheduled for 8:30 a.m. Eastern time. Shalea Duperone is the defendant's name. She faces up to life in prison with the possibility of parole after pleading guilty to murdering her 8-year-old daughter, Lila Castle. We will take you there live once this begins. And in Florida, we've got a brand new trial we're tracking for you today. We're calling it the tortured and drowned murder trial for a defendant named Alize Seymour. She's accused of torturing and killing her 6-year-old son, Anthony. And now we turn to our top story we have for you. What life is like for Killer Kohberger. Right now, he's waking up this morning in one of America's worst hellhole prisons. The killer was sent to the Idaho Maximum Security Institute after he was sentenced for the murders of Kaylee Gonsalves, Madison Mogan, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin. This prison is considered one of the worst in the country due to its severe conditions and reports of inmate mistreatment. Many of the prison's inmates are locked in solitary for 23 hours a day. They eat alone in their cells, have almost zero human interaction. We know that he won't be totally cut off from the outside world. Prisoners don't technically have access to the internet, but they can purchase tablets and they can load them with apps. And he can send messages to young women, just not through dating apps. But if he does find love through his email, it will be a chaste marriage. There are no conjugal visits allowed for Kohberger. Let's talk about this case. Let's talk about this prison. Let's talk about whether justice has been served. I want to welcome back on the show criminal defense attorney Mark Begno. It's been a while, but so great to have you back on the program, Mark. I know you're busy. And former NYC corrections officer Elias Hussamadeen, who we always like to tap for expertise when it comes to cases like this one in our prison system. Elias and Mark, good morning to you both. All right, Elias, let me start with you, please. Killer Kohberger in this prison. How bad is this place?
Well, it's like every other prison, and the mental and the social impact. You know, Julie, let me back up first. I gotta say condolences to the victims, you know, of the family and to the family. It's nothing that could be said that's going to bring them any type of solace, but I have to say condolences. As far as he's concerned, he's about to disappear into the system. He's going to be isolated, he's going to be controlled, and he's going to be silenced. And he's going to be there for the rest of his life in this prison. And his life is going to be no different than most other prisoners, other than he's going to probably spend the rest of his life in solitude in these prisons. And when you watch these guys, when they're there, I mean, some go there and they find God. You know, they find religion and different things like that. But some, they just rot. And I don't think there's any other way to put it. Any other punishment that is going to meet the crime or meet what it is that he did, what he is convicted of doing and guilty of doing and confessed to doing.
Right, Elias. And thank you for sharing those sentiments. I know you and Mark and our wonderful Courtneys watching this morning at home all feel that way. Our hearts break for these victims' families. And if they can get any comfort in knowing that he's in a rough place, hopefully that brings them some measure of peace and closure with the way justice was served here. Mark Begno, I want to share with you, we have the look at the prison food Mr. Kohberger's getting. Apparently, one of the recent dinner menus included hot dogs, salad, and Jell-O pie. But he's vegan, so maybe he opted for the vegan barley casserole, baked beans, and canned fruit. Mark Begno, you've represented so many clients. You're a high-profile attorney in Atlanta, and when you've gone into prisons, visiting clients, you certainly get a sense of how things are, what they experience. What would you say to those families, you know, that are grieving and hoping that life is rough for him?
I mean, well, and let me start, Julie, by also expressing condolences to the families. I can't even imagine. I don't know that anybody can imagine what it's like. They can rest knowing that he is going to be in prison for the rest of his life, obviously, and it's really not good. You mentioned the food. I know people who will, when they get into prison, convert to religion. Like, so, for example, in prisons where I represent people, if you become Muslim, you get a slightly different menu, and there are people who will convert to different religions just to get away from the regular food they're being served. And so, you know, for this particular individual, if he's vegan going in, and if the option is, you know, they say barley casserole, I'm guessing that it's slop. A, it's not good. B, I wonder how long that veganism holds up, right?
Yeah. Right, Mark, right. Great insight. And I wonder how he's going to hold up with these other inmates. I don't know if he's going to be popular. Elias, I want to talk to you about that. We have some information. After the trial, Kohberger was moved to Boise, transferred to the Latah County Jail. So I'm sorry, let me back up. After the trial was moved to Boise, I'm speaking too fast, the change of venue. He went To Latah County Jail, an inmate there reached out to Moscow police and wanted to talk about Kohberger. He wanted to tell the police in Moscow how annoying Bryan Kohberger was. He said that he quickly became annoying to him because of his habits. He said Kohberger would wash his hands dozens of times a day, would spend 45 minutes to an hour in the shower, just in the shower. The officer asked the inmate what he noticed about Kohberger's sleeping habits, and apparently he told him that Kohberger would be awake all night and would just nap during the day. And he could hear him moving around all night, which he said really also very much annoyed him. So he's apparently creeping around, moving, not sleeping at night, washing his hands, taking too long in the shower. Elias, what do you think? What do you think's going to happen to him with the other inmates?
Well, more than likely, he's going to be in administrative seg. More than likely, he's going to spend most of the time for the rest of his life alone, isolated, because the crime that he did, you have jail justice, and they might have to keep him separated. He's going to go through depression. I've seen inmates, come in happy, and within no time at all, depression sets in when they realize that it's over, that life as they know it is over. And like the attorney said, the food, the different things, but to be honest, he's probably going to be by himself, and he's probably going to have to find some type of pastime, which most of them do. Some become jailhouse lawyers. Some, like I said, adopt religion and become the most religious people in the world, and the reality is he might even attempt to kill himself. I mean, he might try to commit suicide, depending on how his mental state is in dealing with this this is new to him. This is not something, he's not used to being controlled. He's used to stalking people and murdering people, and he's not going to be able to do that in prison, because he's going to be around people who are just like him. Mm-hmm. And that's a total different ball game. Right. Totally different ball game.
You certainly know. You could write a book, Elias. I hope you do someday. Excellent analysis. You're sharing the stories you could tell. And Mark Begno, to dovetail off of something Elias said, that maybe he will become a jailhouse lawyer. I'm curious what you think of that. You've seen so many different prisoners. Do you think Kohberger may become one of those guys?
I think that when that was mentioned, I think that kind of jumped to my mind. I was like, oh, okay, I could see that kind of potentially as a route for him, given that he is, at least from what I've read, has a relatively decent intelligence level. Obviously, not speaking to moral compass or anything like that, but is the kind of person who, and also if he's isolated, right? If he's not, affiliated with a gang, if he's not, doing some sort of activity that other people are doing, I could easily see him becoming that type of person. And, I have seen legal filings from jailhouse lawyers that are not bad. I'll be very honest. There are some people who get in there, they have the intelligence level, they work it up, and they become relatively competent, they're able to write relatively competent filings. Which has surprised me. So I could see that as a potential route for him, but I do think that that you guys are right, that he's going to be isolated and going to be alone for most, if not all, of his stay.
Excellent analysis. Lori Vallow Daybell is one that comes to mind, Mark, when you were saying, if she would have just not gone the route of crime and actually pursued school, I think she wouldn't have been half bad as a lawyer, but we know she's a bad mom, that's for sure. This was a great discussion with you both. I'm sure we're going to be talking much more about this defendant and these victims and the justice for those beautiful students coming up. Elias Hussein and Mark Begno, thank you both for such a great segment. We're going to hit our first break of the hour. Friends at home, go get some more coffee. Here's what's next.
Obviously, losing my sister has been really tough and emotional, and but watching my parents go through that was some of the hardest stuff.
Is Amy Bradley still alive? We're taking a closer look at a photo that popped up online years after she went missing. Is it her? And a storm bunker allegedly used as a sex trafficking ring for children. Some of the victims' own parents, police say, were involved. This shocking story making headlines out of Alabama.
Matriarch of the Adelson family gets arrested.
Donna Adelson is facing charges of murder, the death of her former son-in-law, Dan Markell.
Prosecutors say a bitter child custody battle was the motive for the murder-for-hire plot. Now that Donna has turned into a defendant, what's next for the Adelson clan?
Now that the ship is really sinking fast, blood doesn't matter that much.
The Matriarch Mastermind murder trial. Live coverage begins this August on Court TV.
Welcome back. Now for what's trending in true crime. We have 7 people charged in a child abuse ring in Alabama. The sheriff is calling this one of the worst cases he has seen in his 33-year-long career. I want to show you this photograph. It's released by the Bibb County Sheriff's Office showing the inside of a bunker. It's got a stained mattress, as you can see, a single light bulb hanging from the ceiling, and officials say the victims did not live in the bunker, which was built as a storm shelter, but were held there to allow others to abuse them. Here are the 7 charged in this case so far. These are the defendants. The sheriff says that people would pay to visit the bunker and abuse the children, which sometimes brought in $1,000 a night. This case makes me want to cry. The sheriff also indicated there will be more victims and many more suspects as this investigation continues. And the sheriff says that some of these people who were involved are the parents of the kids. What shocks you the most about this case? Let's bring in our power panel. I have with me criminal defense attorney Mark Begnaud, retired FBI agent Jennifer Coffindaffer. Great to have you both on this. I know your hearts are breaking as well. Jennifer, let me start with you. Your thoughts on what stuns you the most about the facts of this case?
Well, Julie, when you look at this situation and think of the volume of children that were in that bunker being abused nightly, and listen, Julie, they were tied to chairs, they were tied to the beds, they were tied to posts, and also when you look at that, there was bestiality involved. I don't exactly know how that's going to come into play with these children, but that was listed also in the criminal complaint. That is just astonishing.
You know, it really is, Jen. It really is. It's sickening. It makes you want to cry. Mark Begnaud, what stuns you the most about these facts, please?
Well, Julie, other than like the genuinely horrifying nature of everything that we're hearing about, how did these people find each other? Like, it strains rationality, but I can see one person doing it. I don't know how this many people find each other and agree. Like, are they putting out ads on Craigslist? Like, I don't understand how people get in the same mindset to do something that is really just as monstrous a thing as a human can do. Like, I just don't understand how it comes together.
You're so right, Mark. You're so right. That's a great point. Like, how do these people find each other? Assuming the sheriff is right, assuming that these are bad people who got together for this horrific purpose to abuse these innocent kids. How do they find each other? You know, and Jen, this was a great question to dovetail off of what Mark said for you in investigations. I would love your thoughts on how they might have found this common purpose, because this is one of those, like, you know, underground kind of secret type things that, you know, for people to talk openly about, they would fear prosecution and prison for the rest of their lives. How do you think they might have connected?
Well, when you look at this case in particular, we know the parents were involved, at least some of them. So it really starts with them and their, wanting to basically sex traffic their children for money. And then you look at who's connected to those people, similar deviant type behaviors. I look back and think to the speakeasies during the time of Prohibition. And it's sort of that same sort of concept that was word of mouth, and people would find out this was going on and come together as a culture to do this horrible crimes against these children.
Jen, thank you for that. This is really helpful insight. The kids, I don't even have words. Mark Begnaud, your thoughts when you think about the children here victimized, what happens next for them? How might they begin to try to cope with this trauma, have a chance at a normal life?
I mean, that's the first thought when you hear about this, right? Is how does a person recover from this sort of thing? And I don't know the specific ages of the children, but I mean, obviously a lot of therapy, hopefully a lot of intervention. I don't know. I mean, this is in Alabama. I don't know the state system there and where, you know, a child who's taken out of his or her home is set up. But I would pray that these children would be top priority in the state for getting as much support as they can, as much therapy, you know, in as good a place, not in a large foster, you know, setting where there's a lot of kids, but individualized attention. I would hope that the state does everything that the state can to get them as much support as they can.
Right, Mark, you really hope so. I mean, I can't even think about the therapy these kids are going to need. We understand at least 10 child victims, one as young as 2 years old. This investigation, we understand, started in February. Department of Homeland Security assisting here. I wonder if there could be more people arrested here. Jennifer Coffindeffer, let me go to you on that point. Is this investigation done?
I don't think this investigation is done. I was reading up on this earlier, and actually they said there might be more child victims and more arrests made. And so I think they're just really going to start understanding the web of this trafficking organization, of this organization that victimized these children. Julie, I would expect more arrests.
Jen, thank you for that. The oldest child, we understand, was 15 years old, so ranging in those ages. You know, we see a lot of terrible things, you both know, and thank goodness for people like you both, Jennifer and Mark, and doing the work that you do. We need people like you serving, you know, in our justice system, and some cases just tug at your heartstrings, some just sicken you. This was what, as soon as I saw this, it was like my stomach, it was in knots, and these poor kids. The captivity aspect of this, I mean, I just can't imagine the torture, the abuse, and allegedly their own parents said to be part of this. Mark Begnaud, in terms of charging and punishment, can we expect the most serious charges to be levied against these people? Can we expect a lockup for potentially life for these people? What do you think legally we're looking at here?
I think legally exactly that. I mean, I think that they deserve it, and I think that the prosecutor who ends up prosecuting this case is going to be going for everything that they can. I think that any judge would sentence these folks to anything that the judge can, and I think generally speaking, sentencing ranges in horrific crimes like this allow for very severe punishments. So, I mean, will any of them see daylight again? I don't know, but I imagine that if that's a possibility, it's decades down the road.
Let's hope if they did what law enforcement says they do, they never see the light of day. This is one of those cases. How I wish we had eye for an eye punishment in America. I wish we did. Jennifer Coffindeffer, thank you for making time for us this morning. I know we need to let you go. Appreciate you so much. It's always great to have your valuable insight. Mark Begnaud, we're delighted to have you this whole hour. Stand by kindly, please. We're going to hit a break. When we come back, we're turning to a case that has us talking because of Netflix, the documentary on Amy Bradley. This missing persons case. It has people talking and reinvigorating the interest in the case. This woman went missing 30 years ago. Is she still alive today? And a mother accused of torturing her own children, allegedly killing one of them. What might the defense be? That's coming up in What's Tipping the Scales.
Well, the difference.
So I told her I love her. That's the last thing I ever said to her. We keep on plugging away and following every lead and chasing every sighting and doing everything we can do. You know, every time we do a news story, it kind of redredges all the emotions and the stories and the memories and all that kind of thing. And it's tough, but it's necessary, you know, if we're not going to give up looking for her.
Welcome back. Let's talk about the disappearance now of Amy Bradley. She disappeared from a Royal Caribbean cruise ship 27 years ago. Does a new photo prove that she's still alive? Well, her story's been featured in a new Netflix documentary.
Around 5:30 in the morning, I saw Amy on the balcony. 6 o'clock, woke up again. She wasn't there.
He said, I've been looking for Amy, and I can't find her.
We check every inch of the ship.
The captain came in.
He says, the FBI have searched. Your daughter's not on this boat.
Years after Amy's disappearance, somebody sent her parents a photo from a sex worker website alleging that it was Amy. Here it is. Take a look at this. Now, FBI technicians compared the photo to older photographs of Amy, and they said that it was a match. So is it really Amy Bradley? And why has the investigation gone cold? Let's talk about this. Still with me, high-profile attorney Mark Begno, and want to welcome in private investigator from Black Ops Private Investigations. He's also a former Army National Intelligence Officer. We thank him for his service to our country, Manuel Gomez. Manuel, let me begin with you on this. Amy Bradley, is it her in that picture? What do you say, please?
I did some serious research this weekend into this case, Julie, and I got to be honest with you. There is no doubt in my mind that the 2005 photo of that lady is Amy. There is no doubt. I'm 100% sure. I'm even willing to bet my license on it. But the fact is that this case has gone cold because the FBI and the investigators hired by the family failed to do their job. They weren't properly trained in search and rescue. This is a case where you have to infiltrate the sex traffickers organization, and the only way you do that is you have to pose as a John trying to purchase women. Okay, and I did that in 2 other cases of mine where I recently rescued a girl named Carol Gerardo from Colorado doing the same exact thing, and that I was able to purchase her from the sex traffickers. You need to infiltrate. This family has wasted thousands and thousands of dollars on investigators who were useless, and the FBI, their hands are tied. They're not going to go in there because, one, they need permission from the country. She needs to hire someone, unfortunately, like me, or guys with that experience. And the Amy's family, if you're listening, please look on the websites of the investigators you find and make sure that they have that investigative experience of rescuing and searching people. If you don't see it, don't hire them.
Wow. This is incredible, Manuel. You know, we often sing your praises because of how knowledgeable and seasoned you are. You've also served with the NYPD. You've done so much in your career. You've actually gone in and infiltrated a ring like perhaps the one that she's part of. And the way you explained it, by doing that, you're able to get the victim to safety. It's incredible. They should hire you. The family should hire you, Manuel, to work this case.
It would be my honor.
Oh my God, I know it would be. I put my money on you any day, my friend. You are incredible. This family, our hearts are breaking for this family as we're seeing them do these interviews in the Netflix doc. I want to play a clip from Amy's brother, Brad, and then Mark Begno. I want to come to you on the other side, please.
The door was open where it hadn't been before, about 18 inches or so, and she wasn't there. One of the shirt that she had on was laid across one of the chairs in the room. The cruise line's key card system doesn't register when you leave the room. It only registers when you use a key to come back in. I was sitting by the pool on the top deck and, exasperated and kind of in shock and realizing, the reality of what was happening. He came up and the first thing he said to me, and keep in mind this is before any announcements were made publicly, said, "I'm sorry to hear about your sister."
I'm sorry to hear about your sister. Wonder who he was talking about there, when he said he came up to me. I started watching this last night, but I've only gotten through the first episode, so we know that there was a band member under suspicion. I'm getting confirmation that it was. Okay, so there's a band member who was seen dancing with Amy, and my producer Annette is telling me it was in fact him who came up and said, "I'm sorry about your sister." So it seems like he had some inside information. There's a video of them dancing together. Apparently, Amy told her brother that he made like some kind of a a pass at her, a little bit of a sexual pass of some sort. Just kind of mentioned it when they were talking when she was out on the balcony. Legally, what recourse does this family have? Mark, when I was watching episode 1 last night, I was feeling so bad for them because it felt like they were helpless when they had a bad feeling and they knew she was missing, and they're going, here, we're out on international waters, you know, we're near Curacao, that we're not here where there's police we can call, there's onboard security, but they work for the cruise company. Really tough. I would love your thoughts, please, Mark, on the position this family is in and what, if anything, you think they can possibly do now.
I think that that's a very good point, Julie, that there is a real amount of helplessness that they must have felt at the time and still now, given what you're pointing out, that this is international waters. It's not like it's happening in whatever state they're living. They can reach out to local authorities. They can reach out to the FBI, who can do investigations. You know, there's just so much less that you can do in a situation like that. And I can't even imagine how helpless the family must feel in, you know, interacting with private security for the company, who obviously has some level of interest in, well, finding it, but also, you know, they're not hired by the public. They're not paid by the public. They have potentially other interests. I think that, you know, what they've been doing and what the investigator was talking about just now was hiring private investigators is an avenue that they can pursue. But again, as the investigator was talking about here, you know, it's hard to vet a private investigator for somebody who doesn't swim in those waters. And so if you don't have a lot of experience and a lot of know-how, you don't know exactly what you're going to get. But that sounds like it's probably, you know, in terms of things that they can do proactively, there's hiring private investigators, there's getting the word out in things like, you know, in the media and in Netflix specials. But, you know, again, there's not an FBI that has jurisdiction there that they can call to go in and do a thorough investigation.
Right, Mark. Yeah, it's so tough. I mean, because, gosh, you know, what might, if she is on the island of Curacao, you know, what might they tell us if we want to, you know, we want to cooperate, go fly a kite? Who knows? Manuel, tell us more, please, about why you think this is her. Maybe my better question for you to ask would be, do you think she's still alive? Could there be hope that she's still alive today?
Well, usually the life expectancy for girls like this range from 3 to 5 years, and then they usually kill them and drop them in a hole. The fact that that picture shows her at an older age, there's no doubt in my mind she was alive at that time, and that she was most likely what they call a good earner, and that's why they kept her around. The one thing that this family needs to do to find their daughter is they need to go online to Curacao, Barbados, to the escort sites. They will advertise. All the sex trafficking cases that I have done, they advertise online. Now, usually, and they're very lucky, the faces are blurred out and you just see the body. So they are very lucky they got this clear picture this time. But they will be online and they will be able to see where she's at and potentially purchase her. I don't recommend for them to do it. Again, it's got to be a seasoned combat veteran, somebody who's counterintel like myself that knows how to do it. Relying on the FBI, let me tell you something, Julie. The FBI doesn't deal with the sex trafficking cases we have now. We have Babylon escorts in New York where they advertise women. We need to take this to another level. They need to get to a seasoned investigator to look at these websites, and then that's how they can save her. I can guarantee that.
This is really helpful, Manuel. So you would say there's a hope that she's alive, at least there's a chance. And you think there's information out there to be ascertained right now, but it's just not being done. Is it incompetence? Is it just there aren't resources? What do you think the problem is?
I think the problem with the law enforcement is that, and the investigators, is that their lack of experience. Again, this is experience I gained as a counterintel officer in 3 different wars. This is experience that's not taught in school. They're not trained in that. Again, you have to go on these escort sites. They will show. They even give star ratings for performance, and they tell you how much to sleep with her. Julie, it's disgusting, but they're using it. They're advertising. And remember, I believe that taxi cab driver. That taxi cab driver directed them to an area which is isolated and also very away from the local population. That's usually where they do these things in sex trafficking. It happened to me in Mexico. It happened to me in Guatemala. I went and got these girls, and they were locations like that. And both times, I used a taxi cab driver. Why? Because the taxi cab drivers know all the local gossip, and they know where to take the American tourists. And I posed as a person doing a bachelor party, and that's how I rescued the ladies.
Oh, man, well, God bless you. You are incredible. You've done so much great work throughout your career. You need to write a book. You really do. My gosh. So thinking about also these facts with Amy Bradley, I don't want to ignore the possibility that she could have gone overboard. Mark, let me turn to you on this. Some of the facts that are a little bit strange is that, you know, there's no evidence that anybody entered her stateroom or the cabin where her parents were staying, her brother was staying. They're all sleeping. Nobody heard anything. She was out on the balcony, maybe went back in, the door was open, but her shoes were still there, her top was still there, and her dad saw her there at 5:30 in the morning laying on a lounge chair. There are some people of the opinion that she may have either jumped overboard or been pushed overboard and may not be alive today, sadly. Your thoughts on those facts, Mark, as we know them now?
Julie, before I saw that picture, the more recent picture, that I agree looks an awful lot like her. If that's a doppelganger, if that's not actually her, then my first thought was that, you know, the simplest explanation tends to be the correct one. And, you know, she'd been out drinking and dancing, presumably drinking, I don't know, but we know she'd been out dancing in the club area of the cruise ship until late at night. And then she gets back, her dad sees her on the balcony 1 minute, and then, 20 or 30 minutes later, he looks and she's not there. The simplest explanation is that she fell or jumped, and it's just that. And she, you know, her body never washed up, and it's a horrible tragedy, but it's just that. Though I will tell you again that photograph that's on the screen right now certainly gives me pause when I say that the easiest explanation is the correct one.
Great insight and analysis from you both. Mark Bagno, thank you so much. Manuel Gomez, big thanks to you. Just incredible. We'll keep talking about this case. Manuel, I know you've got other cases you're working. Black Ops Private Investigations is your company. Thank you very much. We'll hit a break. When we come back, we're turning to the tortured and drowned murder trial. Oh my gosh, talk about heartbreaking. Look at this precious little victim. We'll be right back.
Two parents face a jury
over the attempted murder of their own daughter. Court TV takes you inside the trial that's torn a family apart.
The attempted honor killing trial. Live coverage today, only on Court TV.
Donna Adelson is facing charges of murder, the death of her former son-in-law.
Now that Donna has turned into a defendant, what's next for the Adelson clan?
The matriarch mastermind murder trial. Live coverage this August on Court TV.
Welcome back. Now for what's tipping the scales of justice. Jury selection is expected to begin this morning in the tortured and drowned murder trial for Alize Seymour. Reports say this woman had 7 children, including 6-year-old Anthony. Police say Alize and her husband, Trey Seymour, tortured this precious little child to death. Listen to the information laid out in a pretrial hearing, and we want to warn you, some of what you're about to hear is graphic.
The idea that a 6-year-old without any reported external injuries or obvious head injury has somehow drowned in a bathtub, not a swimming pool, not a retention pond, is in and of itself suspicious of criminal activity. One of the law enforcement officers assigned to this investigation with him was told by medical professionals that this child, a 6-year-old, after drowning in a bathtub, is covered in cigarette burns and has rectal bleeding.
My gosh, that poor baby. So there's the defendant there. She was covering her face a moment ago, but this is her mugshot, Alize Seymour. Her husband, by the way, has pleaded guilty. He is cooperating. He's all set to testify against her in this trial. Police found deplorable conditions in the home, including reversed doorknobs, no electricity, and soiled clothing all over the place. Let's talk about this case and what defense, if any. This is a tough question to tackle because we hear these details and they are repulsive. This beautiful little boy should be alive today. So what defense might this lady have? Is she sunk because her guy's going to come in? He flipped on her. Trey Seymour, he pleaded back in January. He's going to be called. Let's bring in two outstanding criminal defense attorneys. Still with me, Mark Begno. I want to welcome in criminal defense attorney Mario Gallucci. Okay, Mark, to you first here, please. The idea that this lady's going to trial, what might she have in her arsenal in terms of a defense?
Julie, the two things that come to mind, one is a bad idea and one is probably her best shot. A bad idea is her saying she didn't do anything wrong, and she's got a mountain of evidence to overcome there. Everybody's lying and the text messages aren't mine is not a very viable defense strategy, I think. I think that we're much more likely to see something that was, we actually saw to a level of success in the Diddy trial recently, which is, I did all these bad things, but I didn't do this. So you remember in the Diddy trial, it was, I was abusive, but I wasn't sex trafficking. I wasn't guilty of RICO. Here, I think we could say, we would see, I was abusive. I did these things. It was horrible, and I did these things, but I didn't intentionally murder my child. I think that if we're going to see anything that's a narrative from the defense that's not just like they can't prove reasonable doubt, it would be that. It would be I did all of these bad things, but I didn't do the very worst thing, and go for some sort of a compromise verdict where you're getting sentenced on some serious charges, but not on murder.
Yeah, that's a great suggestion. Mario Gallucci knows all about that case in New York, the Diddy case. Mario, what do you say, please? Thoughts on a defense here?
So, when a case like this walks into the office, you cringe, but Mark is right. I mean, the defense here has got to be, I did all these horrible things. I'm an abusive mother, but I certainly did not kill my child. This was an accident. I had the kid take a bath, and, lo and behold, he drowned in the tub. But, that's about the only defense you have here. You can't, initially I thought maybe you use like a Svengali defense, that Trey had this power over her. But when I took a closer look at those text messages and the fact that he's now testifying against her, that defense is out the window. So, her best defense is going to be, like Mark just said, a compromise verdict. Go for, I am abusive. I need help, but I certainly did not kill this child. This was truly an accident.
Mm-hmm. Right, Mario. There's evidence that he was forced to be living in a dog cage, that they would put him in a dog cage, and the other siblings would get rewarded. If they beat him up, they would get rewarded with food. Oh my gosh, Mario. I mean, if you're this lady's lawyer, would you try to counsel her to ask for some kind of a deal?
So absolutely. I mean, I've had these cases. I have one right now, with a 5-month-old. But this is definitely a case where you try to look for some sort of plea. I mean, you're in Florida. I mean, I think she's charged with murder. That's capital. So, anything less than that is certainly going to be helpful. But, this is definitely not the type of case that I would want to try. But, that's not my decision. That's my client's decision. We can only lead them to water and then do our best job at whatever decisions they come up with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're so right. You gentlemen have a tough job. God bless you for doing the work that you do, because it is not easy with many of the clients that you have, but somebody's got to do it and protect their rights. Mario Gallucci, Mark Begno, thank you both for weighing in on that. We're going to hit a break. Friends at home, that's it for opening statements. But if you like this episode, you can watch it again, share it with your friends. Go to courttv.com, click on the shows tab.